Yeah, and it's very important to actually sit down and analyze or reflect those things
Yeah.
because you're not gonna win this fight if you just do the same thing every time. Like repent, feel bad, and say, I'm gonna do it better this time, and then you won't, you
Yeah,
know?
you won't know.
Like you actually need to understand, oh, what am I listening to? You
Mhm.
know, it's music that is stirring up lust in me
Yeah.
or that has lustful contents.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, as a mature Christian, you don't listen at all to, worldly and sinful kind of music.
Mhm.
Ladies and gents, welcome to Voices of Life, the podcast with topics related to the apostolic faith in the 21st century. Let's talk about what interests you here on Voices of Life.
Hello and welcome back to Voices of Life. Today we got another interesting episode, and the topic is gonna be about something that is I would say, quite popular theme in the world outside. You see it on advertisement, posters, inside of movies, people sing about it, people talk about it, and that topic is sexuality. Yes, it's a topic that, from my perspective, is not so often talked about inside church or in church circles. And that's exactly why we thought it's important that we will make an episode where we will talk some things about that topic from biblical perspective and how God sees it, because we got enough input from the world, so to say, but we want to some contrast and bring from the other side, from the side of the Lord, some material about the topic. And to start off, I would like to ask all of you, how was it in your youth, in your experience? Like, how did people talk to you about that topic? Your parents or people inside of church? Did they talk to you? If yes, what?
Well, unfortunately, in my case or my situation, it wasn't really talked about in our household. We were keeping it as as low as possible with about the information, but I've heard of things of words from schoolmates or friends, and I got the idea to look it up on the internet. And while I was looking it up, you stumble into things, videos, and other things. And my dad saw a
History.
search history. Thank you, a search history over these things, and then he took me to the side or took me to his room, and he actually then talked about it as soon as it was too late for me, I could say, because of course he warned me about it. It's like, oh, that's not really good for you. It's good for the marriage, not for before, and so you shouldn't look at it. But I still, after that, found ways to get to the material, you could say. So yeah, but other than that, it was not really talked about in my household.
It was the same with me that, well, my mom didn't see or find out anything. At least she didn't tell me. Maybe she did. I don't know. But we never had that talk, like where she just sat down with me and we, conversed about the situation and how it all, works, so to say. So yeah, I only had that going forward. Okay, learning by myself, so to say, and getting deeper and deeper into that stuff, and like you stumbling into it more,
Yeah.
so to say. And oh, this is that, and oh, this is interesting too. And it's just that excitement and that interest. It just sparks in you when you get into that for the first time.
Yeah, when it comes to my youth, it was a little different because I could not do any research on Google or internet because at that time there was no Google around, and so that dates me. I do understand that, but we had magazines,
Yeah.
and it first started actually with very I
Innocent?
would say innocent things. Yeah, thank you. Like just an ordering catalog, and there I saw ladies the lingerie and their bikinis and all that stuff. And so after a while, I became more interested in those sections of the catalog. And then later on, we had different. I had access somehow to different magazines, not in our house, in our household, but you sometimes visit friends or you visit grandparents or others that you may stumble into things like that. And so then there was some kind of curiosity. And that's why you do it. Because when you are in school and they teach you about sexuality, it is just it's biology, and that's it. It is very, there's no feeling, there's nothing to it. It's just explained, how the organs look like with the male and the female, how they get together and stuff like that. So, yeah, of course, as a young kid or youth, you still, laugh about it. Funny, little kids. But then things come to your mind. You wonder, how does it feel?
Yeah.
And then other kids or other students tell you stories. You never know if they are true or not true, but they tell you a story, and you start to fantasize about it. Then, in our house, we really didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable, the topic, and I think it was also uncomfortable for my parents to talk about it. And so we really did not have the so-called talk. We did not. At least I can't remember we had it. I don't know. I think that they believe that he will find it out eventually. Yes, I did. But it would have helped me, and I think also today it would help people or young students to be informed ahead of time before they really stumble into it. Because the devil makes it very attractive. It makes it very cool and makes it normal, and everybody has to do it, and you have to do it as well. If you are not joining in with all of this sex talk and whatever, then you are just strange. Something's wrong with you, even though it's not the case that something is wrong with you. You just try to stay the way God wants you to stay holy.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to say, I think it also gets attractive because of what you, Stephen, said earlier, and you also mentioned it. Like, interest sparks up, you said, because it's something like secret, something hidden, something that is not talked about. And so you are curious. And that's a big problem that wouldn't be there if people talked about it and said, hey, clearly, this is that, and that's how it is. And this is for marriage, and you should not touch it. You should be very careful to never go there, because you might get hooked up, and it's difficult to get out again, and things like that. It would actually help you and take away that thing that makes it even more interesting for you, because it's something forbidden or not talked about. And now you're sorry, Stephen.
It's okay. It's all right. I almost forgot what I wanted to say, but no, I think also the talk is about how it all works. I think that goes into the same direction of what schools do, but I think the talk, I don't know how the talk really goes. Like, I never had that, so I don't know. But I imagine it just being about the sexual part of it, but not the part
Technical?
like
No, sorry.
A technical part.
Yeah, that's what they taught
So,
you in school.
yeah,
Oh, I did
the-
not mean
the-
it that way.
the
Oh my
mechanics,
goodness.
how it works. Okay,
No,
got
I
it.
meant like what Pastor said, what they teach you in school,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, but I'm talking about like this, what you also mentioned a little bit, like getting hooked to it, to not sex in itself, but all that comes with it, like pornography or the magazines or whatever you see. I think that's the talk, at least for me now, where I think that would be helpful. I think
to warn
how it
someone.
works,
Yeah.
I think,
Everybody knows how it
yeah,
works.
they get that.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Get
see
that
it
very
somewhere.
early
Yeah.
nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, they talk about in school probably and talk about that, but not about what happens after it. What is the problem with it? And I think this is also something maybe parents are afraid of that. They're afraid of maybe they didn't have it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't grow up in church. And so they're like, well, yeah, we did it. How can I explain my child? Well, don't do it and stay away from that. And really put that into words and explain to them, hey, this is what God wants. This is how it ought to be. And maybe they're afraid that they're like, well, how did you do it? And maybe parents are like, yeah, well, I didn't do it, but you should. And maybe that's also a fear that you face as a parent.
Well, I think, especially like for me and for Pastor Sasha, our parents, they didn't really had that availability when they were younger. I mean, of course, Brother Sasha also didn't really have it as I had it, I would say. But I can imagine that, like, from my parents, they didn't really knew what was going on back then. As soon as though my dad saw the search history, then he realized, oh, wait a minute, he actually has access to it. And then he, of course, like I said, he explained and warned me, of course, but then it was already, I would not say, it was too late, you could say. And I think, if I think about it now, when my kids are going to that certain age, because before I would say, oh, I would never probably talk about it because it'd be uncomfortable for me, but because what I went through because of it, now urge myself to, when they come to that certain age, I don't know what age yet we will see then, but I want to warn them from that, because that is a tool that the devil uses to destroy not only you, but your spiritual walk with God, also your ministries, what you have in the future,
and maybe your future sexuality,
your future
and,
sexuality, exactly, yeah,
and having the right relationship.
yeah, and stuff like that. So now, when I think about it in the future, I want to really warn my children from it. I think back then, well, that's my opinion. Back then, it wasn't really afterthought. Because maybe in a different way, it attacked them in some kind of way, but not as it does attack now. Like with internet, and like we said, in movies, we can see it in every second movie. You can see some type of sexuality. If it's a romance, if it's a thriller, it could be an action movie. You still see some type of sexual thing, even though it's for 12-year-olds or 16-year-olds, and that's why I think that wasn't a big thing back then.
And it's shown much more.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, in movies before, there were scenes like that, but there were only hints to it.
Yeah.
That everybody knew, okay, this is going on now.
yeah.
But today, I mean,
Now it's just
it's
visible.
blatantly open. Well, here, that's
what they're doing.
even what the movie is about sometimes.
yeah.
And not movies like pornography, but just regular
Actual
movies
movies,
that play somewhere
Yeah.
in movie theaters that are blatantly, that's what the movie's about.
I mean, even in advertisement, it shows hints. Or I mean, you even have like walls, not even about models or anything, but just like about condoms. And then I mean, like stuff like that, you get to ideas much more than back then. So yeah, it's I think bigger issue now. Yeah.
Back to the movies, I think that's why it's extremely important that we consciously choose what kind of movies do we watch and not. I have a book here in front of me. It's called "Sex is Not the Problem, Lust Is." I can recommend it. I read most of it, and it's a nice book. It's from Joshua Harris. If you actually want to read it. And in there, it also talks about movies, and it says it doesn't help if you feel bad while you're watching the movie, or you think, oh, that's so stupid, why is it in there? Or you skip over it. And he said it's like thinking if you eat a calorie but you regret it, that it won't make you fat. So it doesn't matter how you feel about it. If you consume it, it's gonna have its impact on you. You will see it, and so you should not watch everything, because the things that you are watching are the things that Christ came and died for at the cross, so that you could be free of that sin. And now you are there, and you're just consuming that and celebrating that, or like that's pretty much almost like mocking God. Or what he did, it's certainly not respecting him, but the opposite. Yeah. So very important that you don't just watch everything, because like you can, and you also cannot trust the age rating anymore. I can tell you that from experience. Like, like movies for 12-year-olds, they can have all kind of everything ungodly stuff that you don't want you or your children to see. So you have to take different standards than the age recommendation. When you choose your movies, if you want to watch something sometime.
I think we live in a society where all of these immoral things is just right in everybody's face, and it's really hard to keep yourself from it because it is forced on you. Of course, you can avoid looking at sex movie or whatever, yes. But sometimes advertisement outside, we are living in Europe and so on, it's just right in your face, things. And you really have to look the other way because it's presented to you. Everybody talks about it. And that's the thing, in like I said, in my youth, in our circles, we hardly talked about it. But in school and everywhere else, it was constantly talked about. And so we were curious, and I think people today are curious. And I think parents should not be afraid to talk about the topics, even though they may not know everything. And even though some of the questions might be shocking at first, but then if you just say, don't talk about it, and you forbid it, it just creates the opposite action, and the kid will look at it more and find out more about it. I was just thinking, in some families, just imagine the little girl would come over because she heard it somewhere in school and would just ask her mom maybe or her dad, what is a blowjob? Bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Everybody would be shocked. And of course, I understand that we would be shocked, and we would say, "Well, don't say that, don't do that." But you just don't do that, of course. But don't say it, And I'm sorry. And we forbid it, but we should not stop there. We should try to explain what it is about, so that they understand why we say it's not good. It's not good to do, and there's things that are that is just worldly, and things that when it comes to sexuality, that we do it when we are married, but we are not, doing things like that when we are not married at all, and we don't look at those things and listen to it, whatever, and so on. But we need to explain it more to them.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes parents would be very afraid to do so, because they are shocked, they're embarrassed, whatever they feel.
I think it's interesting what you said, that in the world, peer groups and friends, they talk about it so openly. But when I think about my youth group as well, we never, of course not with girls and boys, make that, of course not, but just boys among themselves, just talking about it and sharing, hey, there's something going on with me. Because even in this group, in this protected group, so to say, even friends, I can remember really talking with a friend about it and opening up myself, because there was always this fear. Okay, what do they think about me? What I'm the only one. Yeah, it's nobody else is struggling with it. I think that's also a lie that is told often. Oh, no, you're the only one that has that problem as a Christian. And this isolation is what gets you deeper into that thing, because I'm all by myself, cannot talk to anybody, and just go into that spiral where it just goes downward and downward and downward, and not opening it up and not saying, I'll make it by myself somehow someday.
Sometimes I have the feeling that some Christians that have been with the Lord so many years, that it is hard for them just to imagine that things like that could be a problem in our churches today. Because it's so filthy, and we don't have that in I don't want to hear it, don't want to see it, and so that's why we don't have it here. But that is an issue. If you teach on pornography, how to avoid it, how to overcome it, and things like that, there are so many people affected. Of course, they would not jump up the chairs and say, well, that's me. Yes, talk, preach, brother, preach. Tell me more about it. I need to know it. Nobody would do it. And everybody feels a little, ashamed or caught, actually. And so it is a problem. And but if it stays in the dark, then it grows, because it grows in darkness.
Yeah,
that's
It gets worse.
Yeah.
And since you said that, in every youth camp, I can imagine that was a subject that was preached or talked about, and it always had an impact, not just on me, but on so many people, because the altars where we prayed, then it was full. People crying, people weeping, people repenting, because that conviction was there.
Yeah.
But then after that conviction, when you go home again, then an act, like you said, has to happen. Where you said it before, it has to be a conscious decision. Because just by one prayer or one time, one preaching, it won't change your whole life magically, but you'll have to work on it day by day. It's a fight, but it is possible. It is possible to overcome. It is possible to win it, but not by yourself, because there's a standard that God said, and he said it in Ephesians 5:3, and it says that there should not even be a hint of sexual immorality. So that's something that we as humans can never achieve. Out of our own strength, it's impossible. And I think that's also a lie that many people believe, that it's out of your own strength to get out of it. That you have to try it yourself and make it yourself, and you can do it, but it's never yourself, but it's God, through God's strength, by trusting in Him and not in your own strength, that there is a possibility to overcome.
Because you have to decide it
Yeah.
that you don't want to do it anymore. It has to be your decision and your will, of course. And God can give you the strength to get out of it, of course. Yes. And while you said that Ephesians 5:3 about the hint of sexuality, just a little test for our listeners. If somebody would just take your smartphone out of your hands, and we have access to everything on your smartphone, and we would just open apps like Instagram or other apps, we would check what is on there and what is on your suggestion page, I guess it's called. And we only, for boys, let's say, and we only would see the majority of pictures from girls in bikinis and stuff like that. Not just every once in a while that a girl pops up, but I'm talking about most of it. That is a hint of immorality.
Yeah.
And that should not be among us.
Yeah.
So that's how serious it is. And it says also in 1 Corinthians 6:18, and then it goes on to that we are the temple of God. But in 18 it says, flee from sexual immorality, and so on, and it goes on. And here we see we have to flee. We have to do sometimes extreme measurements. I think we have to extreme actions actually to get away from it and get rid of it. And sometimes, and most of the time, we may also need help if we are really into it longer time.
And I think it's interesting that Paul even writes that as well to Timothy. And I mean, Timothy, he was a preacher, he was a leader in not just one church, but he sent him to this church and that church, and he worked with him. He worked with Paul, and he was a trustee of Paul. And even to him, he says in 2 Timothy 2:22, flee also youthful lusts. So he admonishes him, his protege, so to say, hey, even you take care of that. Be careful that you watch out, that you flee. And that's, I think flee is just, it's such a big word. It's not just, oh yeah, just take care of it, stay away from it, but flee. Like it's almost like
for your
run.
life,
Yeah.
Run for your life.
Run, because sometimes
And
that's
basically that's it. You run for your life.
Yeah.
yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so I think that's so interesting that it's not just, that little Christian, so to say, that has to watch out for it, but no matter where you are, what you do, it's always that you have to watch out for it and be careful about what you see and what you listen to, because like you said, that's where it starts. Listening, or what do you listen to? What do you look at? What do you hear? What are your friends talking about? The friends group that you're mostly with. All these things can lead to that, to feeding that sin, feeding that addiction, and not getting away from it.
Yeah.
And it's very important to actually sit down and analyze or reflect those things, because you're not gonna win this fight if you just do the same thing every time. Like repent, feel bad, and say I'm gonna do it better this time, and then you won't. You know,
You won't know.
like you actually need to understand. Oh, what am I listening to? You know, it's music that is stirring up lust in me, or that has lustful contents.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, as a mature Christian, you don't listen at all to worldly and sinful kind of music. But
And watch those music videos.
Oh, exactly. That's the next thing.
Yeah. I mean, but sorry, you go.
So,
you go.
I mean,
You go,
I wasn't
you go,
finished,
sorry.
but yeah.
Everybody means just talk now.
So, yeah, that was horrible. Sorry to our listeners. Happens sometimes. Ping
I
pong.
mean too.
Okay, so you gotta see what are my triggers. If it happened, well, ask yourself, why did it happen now? What was it? And then avoid it next time. Set those boundaries so that if you overstep that boundary, you're not already into the sin, but maybe close. But like set the boundaries so that you don't do it again, hopefully. And get a person in your life that you talk to about this, about this struggle.
Definitely.
Like, don't be ashamed about it. All of us are sinners, and if anyone pretends that he or she is perfect, then that's just
It's a big
lie.
lie.
Yeah.
Big lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We are made perfect only by the grace of God, and all of us need His grace. And so don't be ashamed to open up to someone trustworthy, not just anyone, and not someone from the opposite sex. That's not going to be good. But if you have a pastor or a youth pastor or youth leader, then you can maybe talk to them about it. Yeah, so that's important that you actually take your hands and get active about it,
Yeah.
practical. That's what I want to say. Get practical about it.
Yeah.
Because you can do it. That's what Stephen said. And I got a scripture verse that also encourages us about it. It's found in Thessalonians. Thank you.
Which one? First, second?
Yeah, First Thessalonians 4:3-6.
In his Bible, it's the third.
What? In my third. No, it's first. Did I say third?
No,
No,
I
no,
did.
no.
Oh, you said third. Oh,
We are
okay.
just teasing you.
Oh yeah, they are teasing me. They are mean. You are the witnesses, all of you. Okay. So I don't know what version it is. It's a modern one, but it's okay. We will understand what it says.
Hopefully.
It is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control his own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lust like the heathen who do not know God, and that in this matter no one should wrong his brother or take advantage of him. The Lord will punish man for all such sins, as we have already told you and warned you. So it tells you that we have to learn it.
Yeah.
And that's also what I meant about getting practical, you know? It's going to be a process, but we have to learn it. And also important, it's not going to be all the practical measures that will set you free. It's going to be God and his Spirit. So the first priority should be that you build up your prayer life, that you get spiritual, that he is actually the God of your heart and of your life, not just on Sundays, but throughout the week. And this is going to be, at least from my experience, the most important thing, more important than all the practical tools. Yeah, so much to that. I just wanted to share it.
Oh, me? Oh, well.
Yeah, you wanted to say something.
Yeah,
right?
but he went.
Like we say in Germany, the train has moved on. Huh?
Very far so, very far so. I mean, I just wanted to say to the trigger points. It doesn't have to be only. It doesn't have to be a video, or it can only be also what time you stay awake. So if you're by yourself at 3 a.m., stuff ideas pop in your head at night, and so that's all I actually wanted to say, to be honest. But yeah, you have to see where you're at when you're alone, especially when you're alone by yourself at home, or even also when you're somewhere outside of your home, and who's around you and stuff like that. So yeah, it doesn't always have to be sinful video or sinful song or so. It can be also little things. That's what I just wanted to say.
We also need to understand, in my opinion, that God has made us the way he has made us. He has made us with feelings, and one feeling might be a feeling of lust. Another feeling might be a feeling of anger. And but now we talk a lot about how to control these types of feeling when it comes to anger. We know when somebody is angering me or is offending me and I am full of anger, I know I can't just go there and live it out and punch him in his face. But the same applies to lust. When those things come up, we need to learn how to deal with it so that we are not living it out. So that sexual things, that we only practice them in God's appointed thing, which is the marriage, and nowhere else. But we have to learn how to get rid of that thing, to get to how to manage lustful thoughts and how to block them and how to keep them away, or if they arise, how to really deal with them so that we are not living it out.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, because actually, and Pastor shared recently with us a verse that's in Hebrews now, actually in Hebrews, and that is that we should keep the marriage bed holy, something like that. I don't know how does it say the exactly words.
It's in Hebrews 13, verse 4. I got the ESV. I'm sorry, it's not the King James right now. And it says, let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like, there is such a thing as holy sex, you know? Like, sexuality in itself isn't impure, isn't a sin. In the marriage, the marriage bed is sanctified. It's a holy thing. It's a wonderful thing that he put in place. And you gotta, if you then just do your lustful things, you are disrespecting that holy thing that God has created. You are you are rebelling against him and his plan. And that's why you cannot do it. It's not, you don't want to be in that place where you stamp upon and make dirty the things that God has created and meant to be wonderful and holy.
And if you go against God's plan, which is having sex in the context of marriage, and you do it outside of marriage, then it has consequences. Not just physical consequences like HIV or whatever, but it also has emotional consequences and other things that comes with it because it is not done the right way in the right setting and not according to the will of God. And if you want to have sex, you need to be married. But don't just marry because you want to have sex.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be the wrong motive for asking a lady or a man, will you marry me?
Very important.
It's actually asking, will you have sex with me?
More likely,
And not sin.
And after that, pleasurement, you don't want nothing have to do with that person. So
Because the
only
issue
lust.
was lust.
that was only
It
lust
was
behind
not
it.
dealt with.
Yeah, you cannot marry someone just because you find them appealing, attractive, like from the outside. You gotta find that whole person attractive. The person
from inside
like
out.
And I myself, I married early, so I'm certainly not against it. I'm not saying it's actually. I think if it can happen, then it's a good thing. But it should only happen if there are two people that are mature enough for it and that actually know that they are certain about this and know each other well enough, and got themselves under control. And it's not the main motivation, that you want to make out, that you want to sleep together, because that's gonna get you in a lot of trouble. Because this is a commitment for life, and you're gonna be stuck.
If
so
you
to
do it
say.
right, you're gonna be stuck. If you want to do it right, I mean, some people
Yeah.
don't do it right and they just leave.
Oh,
So,
marriage
I'm sorry.
sounds so bad right now. You're gonna be stuck for life. I mean, you are in prison
Forever,
and every morning you
ever.
wake up beside the same person and whatever.
Well, you can see it that way. You imprison that person for yourself. Like she can't leave you anymore.
Now that was just
Oh,
gross.
that is
That's
also
gross.
very strange, right?
Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't mean it that way. I tried it.
It's mine.
It was supposed
Mine
to be.
and mine only.
I think we were talking about each other's voices. Sorry if we did. I just wanted to say I meant it in a romantic sense, that like I won't let go and I secured her, she's
Even that
mine.
was, in my opinion, that's even cringe. But you go, bro. You go.
Yeah, but-
you be the romantic. Yeah. Sorry.
Be the romantic.
Yeah, but even if it happened before marriage now, I think that's also not a reason to get married necessarily. I mean, of course, talk to your, like when you had sex before marriage or when you made out or whatever, then it's not necessarily, okay, you had sex, now you have to get married.
Oh, to that person, you mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To that person. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
talk to your pastor about that. Please talk to a pastor about it.
Before you get married, please tell you.
No,
talk to your
even
pastor. Yeah.
even if that happens, because we had about it, be honest about it, because that is important. Because otherwise, you'll be imprisoned in that situation for the rest of your life, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's so important to be open about that, even if it happened. That's also, like you said, encouragement. Be open about it. Don't be afraid, and you can be ashamed because it's okay. But don't be held captive by that shame.
By that shame, yeah.
Because I think it's also something that God gives to be ashamed about it, and a reaction that is normal for a Christian, and that's also kind of God's grace if you still feel ashamed about it.
Yeah.
Because if you join the ranks of maybe people in the world where it's just like, oh yeah, I had sex with this girl, I slept with her, oh yeah, I touched her, and you're getting proud about it or not convicted about it anymore, then maybe the grace of God has already left. So if you feel ashamed or afraid, hey, I don't want to talk about it, I feel bad about it, then that's still God drawing you and saying, hey, there is still a chance for you. There is still hope for you.
Yeah.
It's still time of grace, but there's time to do something and not just to sit it out and like, oh, well, it's time of grace. I'll just do it until, God comes back in maybe a year. Then I'll get right. But do it now. Do it
That's
today.
Do it today. Exactly. That's important because you never know when he comes back, and that's also a reality
Yeah.
that we have to live in because no one knows the day or hour. And I don't think you want to be that person who thinks, oh, we have 1, 2, or 3 years left, and then he comes back tomorrow and you didn't
You're not
talk about
prepared
it
for
and we're
yeah.
not prepared for it. Yeah. So yeah.
There's just one little disclaimer I'd like
Yeah.
to do again every once in a while. I may do it in our episodes. Everything that we discuss here is our opinion.
Yeah.
And also the advices that we give, we feel those advices are good advices. But nevertheless, if your pastor is saying something else to you, something
Yes.
different to you than what we say here or what we feel right, then always keep in mind your pastor is right for you, for your life.
Yes.
Because God has placed you under His authority, and so when he says something different, or He had said already something different than
Yeah.
we say here, you be obedient to your pastor, of course.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay. So we had the disclaimer. I think we also talked about quite a lot. Unless any of you wants to talk about one last topic or has some brilliant idea that he still wants to share or something.
Now
like
we are
that.
under pressure. Some brilliant ideas.
Now it has to be brilliant.
Okay.
That's
Disclaimer again. It doesn't need to be completely brilliant, but maybe something worth listening to or worth sharing. Then now you can.
Or hold your peace.
Or hold your peace. Yeah, that's the marriage speech. Which is good for the topic. No, okay. But I interpret the silence that all of us think it's enough for this episode. Of course, we only scratched the surface in general. And if you have a question about this topic of lust and sexuality and everything, feel free to ask. Or that we can make a topic out of it in another episode, maybe. And with that said, I hope you'll tune in next time. And thank you for listening this time. And God bless you wherever you are. We love you and thank you for listening. God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless.
Goodbye.
Till next time. Bye.